Hola todos. How we doing? We have our last set of questions from our last module here. Might as well start with the best article first, the real lessons with Steve Jobs. You guys know I have a hard time doing one of these things without recommending a couple books. But as I said in the article videos, here is the book itself. It's a very thick book. 600 and something pages here. It's a very good read. It's a very long read. If you just wanted the more managerial HBR version of it, you needed to read the article that I assigned to you this week. This is a biography, and this goes into a whole lot of other things other than managerial stuff. So I'd say only if you're have a strong interest in job, or the movie that's going to be coming up, written by the same guy who did The Social Network that won the Academy Award. He's using this book as the basis for the movie. So if that grabs your interest, great. If not, just read the HBR article. This is the other really, really good Apple book if you just want to read more about strategy. He talks about Steve Jobs a little bit here, but this came out a year after Steve Jobs was passed, and this is more about current strategy of what's happening at Apple. Alright, so let's answer some questions here. Jobs did not do marketing research because consumers don't know what they want until we've shown them. This contradicts much of what we learned this semester, right? I would say it contradicts everything that we've learned this semester. Apple is an outlier, an extreme outlier, and in many, many, many ways, I would not ask any of you to try to do what Apple does because most of the time it makes no sense whatsoever. They do market research, just not in the traditional manner. They tend to do more internal research. And I've said before in previous videos, they're a fast follower. Anytime Apple tried to do something first in the category, they failed mightily. Anytime they were the second or third player a year or two after the first product came out, MP3 players, smartphones, tablet computers, it was a smash hit. They can do less marketing research because the marketplace already accepts the product class that they're innovating in. If Steve Jobs did not want to have his harsh side with him, in which he was perhaps overly passionate, do you think Apple would still have been successful to its current degree? Well, I think Steve Jobs' talents had nothing to do with his personality. His personality was, yes, to be overly polite, a little bit rough. But the roughness didn't give him his skills. And I'm not trying to defend him here, and I wouldn't want anyone to act like Steve Jobs thinking that they're going to get the results that he got. And in addition, it wasn't just Steve Jobs. He had an immensely talented team around him. It's sort of like Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, but he won 6 championships because of the team that was around him. What do you think Jobs would think of Apple today? I think that's a very good question. To be honest with you, I would like to hear him say it himself. Knowing Jobs as well as I do, I'm sure he would have a funny quip here and there or some nitpicking to do. But in the grand scheme of things, Apple is a company substantially bigger. Market share, market cap, cash on hand, by any metric you can think of, it might be twice the size it was, or at least a third the size larger than when Steve Jobs passed away. So in many ways, I think he'd be proud. I mean, one of the things that he told Tim Cook, basically on his deathbed, he said, "Don't do what you think I would do. Do what you think is best for Apple." And that's what Tim Cook has done. So I think he'd be proud. Can Jobs' leadership style really be replicated? No, and I wouldn't ask you to replicate it. He earned the right to lead as he wanted to because of his track record. Would a leader be successful with his methods without his background? Let's do these one at a time. Can Jobs' leadership style really be replicated? Yes, it can be replicated because he's an extreme X. I mean, he was a tyrant. Would a leader be successful with the methods without his background? No. The only way people put up with you if you're that much of an idiot is if you have a track record with results. Otherwise, it wears thin. It wore thin the first time around, which is why he got booted from the company that he founded. So he somewhat earned the right. But at the same time, I mean, just because you have a successful track record, that doesn't mean that you should abuse it. I mean, the last thing that I would want you to be, look at all those leadership articles that we read. The enlightened leader is better than the infant terrible. So what if you had success? At some point you're going to run into struggles. And if you don't have a team around you to support you, it's going to come back and bite you. It can be replicated. I wouldn't recommend it. If a company is conservative but wants to become more innovative like Apple, could they invoke some of the same principles that exist at Apple, or is this something that can only happen from the start? It would seem that the culture of a company is a direct result of its leadership. Well, this right here is an absolute fact. I couldn't agree with this more. The culture of a company is cultivated by the leadership. The leadership, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. The culture is usually set from above and supported from within. Right? Hold on one second. The problem that you have here is that Apple's culture of focus and doing only one thing right, very few companies would agree to do something like that, regardless of whether they were conservative, innovative, or aggressive. Apple sweats the details. They like to have one product and sweat the details. Jobs' approach to customer orientation was unconventional because he didn't believe in customer involvement when creating new products. Is how you approach customer centricity a direct result of the company culture and its ability to innovate? Well, let's take this apart a little bit. Jobs' approach to customer orientation was unconventional. Well, I don't think it was too unconventional. There's a lot more companies that tends to ignore their customers. It's more common than you might think. There's a lot more firms that are not market-oriented than market-oriented. It's just usually the ones that are not market-oriented, and I don't think Apple is market-oriented, are successful or colossally successful. Is how you approach customer centricity a direct result of the company culture? I think the answer to this part of the question is yes. How you approach centricity is a result of your culture. But I don't know if its ability to innovate has anything to do with it. If you look at Intel doesn't do market research either. Their job was to increase the productivity of the chip. That's it. And they had very little customer involvement with their product development. Come here. Say hi to my class because you walked in.
Hello.
Say hi, class.
Hello.
Say I'm recording.
Hello.
What are you working on downstairs?
Project.
Your project. Okay. So what did you need in my office?
Paper. Lots of paper. Right now I just need 5 pieces.
Go.
Thank you.
Close the door, please.
I'll give you some extras if I have any.
Right. Do you believe Jobs' Do you believe if Jobs' underlings read your recommended the no asshole rule, that they would have stayed at Apple? First of all, for those of us who did not read this is a very, very interesting book by a Stanford professor that studies leadership, and he's not a fan of the personality stuff that Jobs would do. Let's politely say that. So he has a book, and it's called The No Asshole Rule, and it's actually a very, very good book. I don't think the underlings and the people around Apple needed to read this book. They already know that Steve was an ass, and as a matter of fact, they had awards amongst themselves. It's in the biography. And they would give or take someone out to dinner or lunch to whoever showed Steve up at any meeting at any time and got him to back down. That's not why they stayed at Apple. They stayed at Apple because Apple was doing the most cutting edge work. Apple pays very, 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 very well. And, people stay at Apple if you're doing what you really want to do at the highest level. I mean, Johnny Ive can make 3 or 4 times the amount of money he could anywhere else other than Apple, but he wouldn't have the freedom to do what he's doing now. How do you assess Apple's future without Jobs? Well, I alluded to it earlier, and I think Apple's doing better now without Jobs. I think the future that Tim Cook is trending towards without Jobs is stronger than anything that Jobs could have created. Jobs was, believe it or not, he liked politics and he liked turf battles. And, some of those he liked the skirmishes. But the problem is those skirmishes and those turf battles was keeping Apple from progressing forward. About 2 years ago, a little over a year and a half ago, Tim Cook fired a lot of Apple's Steve Jobs loyalists, particular mini Steve, Scott Forstall. Because Forstall, who was in charge of iOS, would not give up iOS. He would not work with the rest of the company. And because iOS was so important part of Apple, he thought iOS was Apple. But it wasn't. And Tim Cook kind of had to lower the hatchet on him. Unfortunately, because the guy was brilliant. But I think Tim Cook is doing stuff with Apple that Jobs could not. I really do. I really, really do. Do you know any examples of companies that have followed Apple's simplicity plan that have benefited from it? Well, I could tell you one right off the top of my head, and it shouldn't surprise you too much once I give you the backstory. But if you ever seen these Nest thermostats, this is not in books. Books. All departments. Sorry about that. Here it is. They are expensive. They're very groovy. They're web enabled. There's an app for them that you can change the temperature of your house no matter where you are in the world. These things are very simplistic, very easy to use. The reason why it shouldn't surprise you what they are is the CEO and founder of this company, Nest, is Tony Fadell. Guess who Tony Fadell used to work for and report to? And when he got so sick of Steve Jobs, and Tony Fadell was one of the main inventors of the iPod, he left to create his own company. And now he's got thermostats. Now the second product that Nest has done is fire alarms. Beyond Nest, I would say Tesla. Tesla is a very focused company. You know, Tesla, and he's also a disciple of Steve Jobs. Okay, second best article, Richard Thaler. Choice engines will help us make better decisions, but at what cost with regards to privacy? That's exactly right. There is a cost. It's not free. Privacy is without question part of the equation. You have to give up information in order for the big data to make these better decisions. Unfortunately, many times you don't realize the data that you're giving up. You know, here in the United States, disclosure laws are radically different than they are in other parts of the world, particularly the UK and Europe. So there is a trade-off. You know, the downside, upside, downside, you do trade off privacy, but at least you're not trading off costs, i.e. cash. Do you really think choice engines will eliminate the problems like lack of transparencies, or company will just think of new, perhaps unethical ways to trick consumers? There's no question that companies keep finding different ways to get more information out of us, whether we realize it or not. They've been doing it for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You used to be thinking you're mailing your warranty card in, and you may be mailing a warranty card in, but really that's just something that would go straight into a database and get sold. The information that's on that warranty card. Every time you sign up for some kind of a sweepstakes or a contest to win something, yeah, you're really just signing up to be part of someone else's database that will get sold. Yeah. So we've been doing these trade-offs for a long time. I just wish that there was more transparency with regards to opting in versus opting out. Look, if people want free, they have to opt into all this privacy trade-off, but you have to opt in. I don't like it when it's the default setting. That's what bothers me. Isn't it contradictory? Isn't it contradictory that choice engines would themselves need to be regulated? How would we be sure regulation wouldn't impede the innovation? Well, the regulation has to deal with how the information these choice engines are mining for, how they're getting it. Because in many cases, they're getting it illegally. Google just got busted again the other day that you were using, the flashlight app. You may have, if you have Android, you may have a flashlight app. Well, that flashlight app, it's a flashlight app. Well, you didn't realize it, but every time you used the flashlight app, it gave information back to Google. Where you were, what time of the day it was, and it ran a couple different information on your phone that talked about your other usage of the phone. It's a flashlight app. What the heck do you need all that other stuff from a flashlight app for? So, again, it's the trade-off. At what point has regulation gone too far? I don't think it's gone too far. I don't think it's gone far enough. They should require these companies to have all this information opt in, as opposed to you finding a way to opt out, and them also making it hard for you to find a way to opt out. Like, if you want the credit card company, your credit card company, to not sell your information, once a year or twice a year when you get that fold-out piece of paper that goes like this, and the font is like 2-point font, and you have to read through the thing and find out the customer service area where you have to mail a certain type of letter, and they make it difficult for you to opt out. That's where I'd like to see regulation. What are the negative effects of too much disclosure to the consumer? By choice engines and better disclosure, aren't firms giving up their selling and competitive advantage to the consumer? I don't think there could be too much disclosure, to be honest with you. I would like more disclosure because a lot of the times I don't know what the apps on my phone are doing. I really don't. You know, the selling and competitive advantage of the recommendation engines, you know, if you have the data, you still have your competitive advantage, but just get it in a more ethical fashion. You know? Would you agree that smart disclosure is one of the driving factors behind the Obama's push for the ACA? ACA? Affordable Care Act? The correct answer is I'm not sure. I'm not into politics that much. I believe this is the Affordable Care Act that you're referring to. Hopefully, we're going to get better disclosure of, you know, our rights and our information with this. We know with the Affordable Care Act that part of it is the digitalization of all your medical records. So that means it's going to be more searchable. Hopefully, only the people that you want to be able to search your medical records. This article talks about all the positives that could come out of choice engines and smart disclosure. What are the potential pitfalls? I think this goes back to the same kind of privacy discussion that we were talking about earlier. I guess smart disclosure is, you know, just better disclosure. We do not have good disclosure right now. Okay, Article 3. Not bad. I wish this was more of a toolkit article. Question. How difficult is it for marketers to achieve a strong understanding of the holy grail of marketing? Precisely knowing how all the moving parts of a campaign actively drive sales and what happens when you adjust them. I think the correct answer to this is, if we're talking about in a digital world, it's very much within reach. I mean, if we talked about social and digital SEO, SEM, and anything that you do online, that is quite trackable. That is quite good. Other areas of marketing are significantly more difficult, particularly on the promo side. I mean, if you have, you know, I'm part of the Super Bowl committee that's coming up. You know, I've been on the advisory board there. And there is a lot of companies that are going to be staging all kinds of events around the Super Bowl. Well, event marketing is very difficult to determine ROI. Television advertising is very difficult to determine ROI. Radio, billboard, newspaper, magazine, very difficult to determine ROI. Now, direct mail is not. Catalog is not. Telemarketing is not. Not that you really want to do too much of that. But there are some areas of marketing, tools that are in our arsenal, that is very difficult to get anything even close to knowing what really is going on, unfortunately. Does understanding the Holy Grail require a few mistakes to be made before optimization so marketers can know the full effects of decisions and campaigns? Well, you may realize after the fact that, oh, there probably was a better way to do this. Now, yes, you could have called that a mistake after the fact. But before you know that, oh, there's a better way to do it, you're just going on your best guess. And luckily for you, that you like to iterate, which means you like to improve and continuously improve and continuously improve. I mean, think about the car manufacturers. The Camry that came out in 1986 is nothing like the Camry that came out in 1996, and nothing like the Camry that came out in 2006. I mean, in 2006, we can call the Camry from 1986, oh yeah, there were some mistakes there. But really, there was just improvements that were made going forward. You see what I mean? How could companies with fewer budgets still practice these principles? Easy. Only use media you trackable. Stay digital. You know, I do some consulting, and when I do consulting and I talk to companies, I literally say, just making it an axiom, make it a principle. You know, do not spend money that you don't know what you're getting out of it. Why would you spend promo dollars if you don't know what you're going to get out of it? If you have a small budget and you need to focus, make sure you know what you get for your money. Don't just blow it randomly. What analytic formulas are there to help determine what is drivel and what is truly important? Well, if you really, really, really want to get into this stuff, the holy grail of books is what the heck is going on? There he is. Where's the book, though? Let me hit pause. Hold on. Okay, class. Here it is. Here's the Holy Grail. Marketing Metrics, the definitive guide to measuring marketing performance. I don't have the newer edition. I only have the older edition, which is the first edition. But this is really the best marketing analytics book out there. There's, trying to remember how many formulas in here, 40 or 50, if I'm not mistaken. It is a very difficult and thick read. Not fun. Is version 2.0 here to stay for a while, or version 3.0 will come about quickly and change things yet again? I think version 2.0 is here for a while, just because TV advertising's not going anywhere. You know, television advertising is still a $60 billion. And if it's not $60 billion, it's still billions and billions and billions of dollars. It's the biggest advertising bucket by far. The internet is under $20 billion a year in total spending. All digital marketing, you know. TV is somewhere north of 60, 70 billion dollars, you know. So for that, it's here to stay. What I'm waiting for is television to become, instead of dumb, smart. Not dumb because the programming on there is dumb, but just like we had an old flip phone that didn't do all that much other than make calls. Most of the television programming and the sets and the cable boxes we have now are quite dumb. You know, there's no web browsers there. They can't determine what we watched or not watched. You know, we can't search. We can't click on something. You know, if we see someone with a watch, you know, and we go on the screen and click it, we could find information about that watch. That's hopefully going to come in the near future, but, you know, Apple's been thwarted about 3 or 4 times in their Apple TV efforts over the last 4 years. So, I think it's here longer than I would think it would be here. Can anyone learn to run Analytics 2.0 solutions, or do you have to have some background in statistics? No, I think most of the people that are running right now are finance guys. You know? And even the statistics, I mean, you could drop the formula into Excel, and it's not really crazy math. The derivatives guys on Wall Street, yeah. The quants, yeah, that's crazy math. This stuff is not crazy math. If you're starting a small business, can you apply Analytics 2.0? Is it more effective in larger corporations? I think it's easier to do with a smaller business. You know, to only spend money in areas, in marketing vehicles that you can track. And the marketing vehicles that you can track easily, the web stuff, the SEO and the SEM stuff, that's actually the cheapest of all marketing vehicles. So I think it's kind of easier for smaller businesses to do it. You know, there's no reason why large corporations can't, but I think it's easier for small businesses because these are the affordable marketing tools that you would use in the first place. Oh, by the way, and Analytics 2.0 has significantly better micro-targeting, which if you're a small business, either geography or product class, you would want to do more micro-targeting. Due to the input-output ratio of TV ads and internet ads, is it possible that the TV ads will totally be replaced by internet ads? Not anytime soon, unfortunately. It's just too big of a business. You know, I've been calling for the downfall of network TV as we know it for 6-8 years. Because I keep seeing all these other technologies that could disrupt it. But man, we still have it. It doesn't seem like it's going to die anytime soon. It is going to die. You know, it is going to die. But, you know, eventually there's just not going to be enough TV shows that people watch that you can charge enough ads rate for to support a network. It's going to happen sometime in the future. Okay, last article. I was disappointed with this one. Hopefully you have some good questions. Okay. Should luxury brands, cars, jewelry, Inc. still focus on apps in an effort to create community? Or for big purchases like that, the use of an app is negligible? I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be an app. I mean, all these super luxury brands, they have brochures. If you go to a Mercedes dealership, they have brochures. If you go to a Tiffany jeweler, they have brochures. If you go to a Rolex or a Tag Heuer dealership, they have brochures. Why don't you just take that piece of paper brochure and make it a digital brochure in the app form? There's no reason why you can't do that. You know, we're seeing some of it. Which brands do you see having a strong app influence that influence sales? Well, there's a lot of brands that the only way they sell is through the app. I mean, that is their culture. But if we're talking about a brand that uses digitally unbelievably effectively, it's Burberry. You know, and one of the reasons why Apple stole the CEO of this company is because they're doing digital. You know, if you the Burberry stores, for instance, when you walk into a Burberry store, you can fire up your app. You can use the app for purchase. You can use the app for promo. The app interacts with where you're at in the store. And then Burberry has all these other really cool things where you pick the pocketbook off the table, where there's an LCD screen behind it, and all of a sudden it'll start showing video with regards to Leo. Can you knock next time?
Okay.
Can you say sorry?
Sorry.
Okay, I gotta keep teaching. Go.
Wait a sec. I accidentally put this stack of papers the wrong way.
Okay. Burberry. You can pick the bag off the table. As soon as you take the bag off the table, the billboard behind it starts playing how the bag is made, what makes it special. They're interviewing, like a la Apple style, the people that create it. You know, Burberry is go to YouTube, type in Burberry, and you'll see all these wonderful videos. They're very, very good, and they do them in YouTube. They do them on an app. They do them on the web. They're really good. The article says that convenience apps will be hard to differentiate. Isn't this true for any app or any ad? Convenience, if convenience is the only thing you have and you do not do a very effective job of selling convenience, then yes, it would be hard for you to differentiate. I'd agree with that. But sometimes convenience is a really big deal. And the convenience enough you'll pay premium for. If you can enhance your brand with an app, does it make sense to roll it out for free with the hopes that they can monetize the app in the future? In a content marketing world, it's better to start with free. It's better to have the larger audience. It's better for you to figure out what to do with them on the back end than worry about charging them on the front end. You know, a lot of times the app's free, but any upgrades are in, there's in-app purchases, which is how they monetize. Where there'll be a time where there's just too many apps and the strategy becomes less effective. Well, there's over 1 million apps as it is in the in iTunes, in the App Store. Android has hundreds of thousands, and they're trending towards 1 million as well. There's already too many apps, but yet it's still effective. It's still working. If it hasn't happened now, I don't see it happening. At one point when there was 10,000 apps, and you can't possibly go through all 10,000 apps to decide what you want or not. People find out about certain things, the information rises to the top. So, why hasn't a new technique been used on these ads due to their lack of response? Positive response to them. Well, it works in so many other mediums, or at least it's standardized in other mediums, that it's easier to sell something that people already know. Now, does that mean they should continue doing it? No. They're terrible. Not only are they annoying because of the small screen size, but they're not effective at all. Almost to the point where it's worse than telemarketing response rates. So then why are you doing it? You need to do something else. There's other ways to monetize, such as in-app purchase. Is this a seamless transition for a marketing department, being able to make and create apps? It is not a seamless transition for any marketing department. An app that's interactive is radically different than anything that traditional marketing departments have done in the past. And most stuff that marketing departments have done in the past is a one-way, I control the message and I push it out. And then we wait to see if there's any feedback to respond to. Apps are more in a Web 2.0 world. Feedback, community, two-way dialogue. The marketing department better be ready for that. This sounds like easier said than done. Is it feasible? Oh yeah, it's feasible. It's very common. A lot of people are doing it. There's a lot of apps that, use this content free and monetize afterwards. I don't know how many firms are really doing it well, but yeah, there's a lot of them. It's not going away anytime soon. So I'll have to decide whether I include this article in a future class, but I was not that impressed. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks.